What's up, true believers? Welcome to Greg's Comic Book Club, Issue 3. I'm Greg Miller, alongside
Anthony Carboni. Hello.
Oh, you're doing the Kermit arms.
I'm doing Kermit arms.
Yeah.
We got John Denver.
How are you, Anthony?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. Now, you are, of course, incredibly popular on the internet. How do you describe yourself now? What do you want to be billed as? You're Anthony Carboni from...
Raconteur, man about town.
Okay.
Ne'er-do-well.
A ne'er-do-well.
Mostly right now from the Star Wars show.
Sure.
And Science
Congratulations.
of Star Wars.
That's been going on for a while now.
Yeah, it's this is my second year doing it. The show is in its third year, and it's going really well. It's a lot of fun. If you're a Star Wars fan and you've got YouTube, which I know
a lot of you do.
Not everybody has the license or the paperwork filled out, but if you do and you enjoy Star Wars, we do Star Wars stuff every Wednesday on the official Star Wars channel. News, interviews, all the stuff.
I love it.
Yeah, man, it's been good.
I've missed you. You've been gone a long time.
I know.
From Kind of Funny. You've been in the public eye quite a bit. I mean, you're doing your thing. You're on your show. You got LASIK. I don't know how I feel about that.
There was the unfortunate incident that we don't talk about, but you heard about it on TMZ, and it's fine. And
yeah, well,
I've said everything I'm going to say about it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
All water under the bridge. You
Listen,
know what I mean?
if Robert Downey Jr. can be Iron Man now, and we're all fine with it, like what I did,
not a big deal.
In comparison, not a big deal.
Yeah, not at all.
Not even a Rob Lowe.
No,
I'm not even a Rob Lowe.
No, don't Google it. It's fine. Just let it be. Let it.
Eddie Murphy.
I've always thought you should have a private life. You know, you should be allowed a private life.
Thank you. I think so too. But you know, just I have a responsibility. You know,
you do
to the world.
Yeah, you got to be a role model. All these Star Wars kids looking up to you.
When whoever my parents were put me in that basket and pushed me down the river,
Mississippi River, right there, right, big ol' muddy.
That was when I became property of the world.
It was exactly.
And there's no taking that back.
Exactly. Now that's the thing that's offensive about you is that not only did you get the LASIK, you're wearing a shirt with glasses on it.
Now, yeah, and I didn't realize this because this to me used to be like just cool, funny shirt because I'm always wearing glasses.
Yeah.
And then I realized now that I don't wear glasses, it has a totally different subtext.
Do you feel like you've lost part of your brand identity?
Do you feel like I'm saying fuck you right now to
bit,
you
yeah,
by wearing glasses?
Well, I mean, since you come in, it's been I can see this, I can see that.
Yeah, well, like, listen, I don't mean to brag, but like, I can see all the way across this room.
I can
I don't even need special gadgets to do it.
Sure.
I don't even need to be like, I don't need to put on my bat goggles to see, you know, the stuff on the shelf back there.
Sure.
It is weird. People text for the first couple weeks. You know how it is when you're on camera. For the first couple weeks, if you change anything about yourself, test, I can read it. Yo, not only can I read it, Kevin.
Oh, I was like, what?
I don't just have 2020. I've got 2010. I got Hal Jordan fighter pilot vision now. Yeah. They shot a laser at me. It's my origin story.
How did you get it? Oh, they shot a laser. That's not pretty good.
He has the powers of a regular guy.
A guy with good eyesight.
Before he didn't.
Yeah, he's so much better now. He's come so far.
He's regular man now. No, people, would be messaging me and they'd be like, I don't know, man. I think it's weird. I think it's different. You've lost what makes you you. And it's very funny because that's just like, they're just glasses. I changed my shirt and it doesn't scare you.
True.
Take off my glasses, it'll be fine. A few weeks went by, everybody's used to it.
Of course, yeah, of course.
My wife hated it.
Oh yeah?
Took her probably about a month and a half to come out of the room where she locked herself.
A short break, yeah. There was a short break. She
was like, I can't do this, and she locked herself in the little room under the stairs where we keep the exchange students, and she would not leave for a month and a half.
You had to coax her out with like treats?
Yeah. Yeah, I had to pretend like she got accepted to wizard school. I was like, come out from there.
Don't you want to open your envelope? There's
an owl for you.
Well, Anthony, I'm excited you're here.
I'm excited to be here. I just want to talk about comics.
I was telling, before we went live, we were reminiscing, as they say. And not this, like a few months ago, I told you we're starting this show.
Yes.
I think a year and probably a little bit more than that ago from that day, I told you, hey, we're getting ready to do a comics podcast and we want to, like, maybe we might rope it into the morning show, which became required reading, which you came on and you were great that Wednesday. You came on and killed it. And so, obviously this was a better fit, of course. Greg's Comic Book Club is a product of patreon.com/kindafunny. Your support gets you this exclusive show that'll never go live on YouTube, or I shouldn't say, it'll never go live publicly anywhere. Obviously it's on YouTube. It's on MP3s. You get it only on patreon.com/kindafunny though. So I'm happy to have you here finally.
Same.
So
I don't have enough people in my personal life to talk about comics with.
And that's the big problem, right? Yeah. Even Tim likes comics. He doesn't like them like Kevin and I like them.
Right.
But Kevin even reads, I think, way more than I do because he's just, not doing work.
Right.
I look over there right now, feet kicked up on the phone.
He's just dicking around, coming up with vision tests for me and shit. Yeah, I see that too, Kevin. I see that gesture.
Of course, $1 on patreon.com/kindafunny gets you access to Greg's comic book club each and every first Wednesday of the month. And then if you want to be part of the actual questions and comments and reviews we'll get to later, you need to go up to that $15 level, and it gets you a whole bunch of other bonus goodies too, but that's for this one. What I want to do, Anthony, is start where we start with every part of the show. What's the best thing you've read this month?
Oh God. I'm a couple months. I was a couple months behind on this one, but I finished up The Beautiful Death.
I don't even know.
Have you been reading The Beautiful Death?
No.
It's like this crazy post-apocalyptic psychedelic. It was a 6-issue miniseries. They'll probably be collecting it.
Who did it? Who put it out?
Just finished. I would have to look it up.
Okay. Well, you do at some point. I want to talk about how you're reading your comics nowadays.
And I can't. I have to look it up, and I can look it up. The Beautiful Death.
Do you want me to get your glasses so you can read your computer? When
I don't need those.
Oh
anymore.
wow! I'm sorry.
No, the shirt is lying to you. I think of glasses as whimsical things that regular people don't need.
Oh, those things are still around? How cute.
I am, of course, I'm very into Mr. Miracle.
Yes, that's on my list, of course. Mr. Miracle, number 7 this month.
I wasn't into Mr. Miracle in the beginning.
Why not?
It was a little more Tom King for the first couple issues than I wanted Mr. Miracle to be.
Okay. So you had a connection to Mr. Miracle already?
Yeah, so, okay,
Gotcha.
One of the first comic books I remember getting.
Wow.
One of the very first ones.
Yeah.
Was an issue of Mr. Miracle. And the cover, I remember it so vividly. The cover is Blue Beetle and Booster Gold outside of Scott and Barda's apartment with a 6-pack and pizzas. And Scott and Barda are like peeking out of the curtains and pretending they're not home, while Booster and the Blue Beetle are trying to hang out with him.
Very awesome.
And so I had like this connection with Mr. Miracle as kind of like this. You remember in the mid-'80s, DC had a lot of like silly stuff going on.
Yeah.
And Mr. Miracle back then had kind of like a lighter tone to it.
100%.
And so I was used to that. And of course, that's why you bring in Tom King, right? You bring in Tom King. I think the most similar Tom King thing is The Vision.
Yep.
In terms of the writing style.
Yep. Another thing I started reading this month.
Which is a brilliant, brilliant series.
Yeah.
And adds an entirely new subtext to The Vision.
100%.
But when he did it again for Mr. Miracle, tonally it felt a little too similar to the Vision series to me.
Okay.
It was a little too one-to-one for the first couple issues.
Okay.
And then they sort of got into the mixing of the sort of jokier elements with the darker stuff that's going on, and I settled into it.
Yeah.
You know? And now I think it's absolutely brilliant.
From the get-go, I was super into Mr. Miracle, and that was, I think, not exactly, but I hadn't read The Vision yet.
Right.
And I also had I have no personal attachment to Mr. Miracle. Like, I've seen him pop up in books back in the day or whatever and read, but having no real grounded, this is who he is.
Yeah.
Jumping in and have it just be him and Big Barda, like, yeah, we live in LA and traffic sucks and we're on our phones and this is that, and he tried to kill himself. The story jumps around a lot. Like, I picked, with issue 7, I jumped in, I was like, did I miss an issue? And I went back and read it. I was like, oh no, okay, we're just skipping the fact that he's Highfather now.
We're just doing it, man.
Yeah, okay, cool, good enough. But it works because the way I think Tom King writes fits so well in this book of, here's a weird situation they're in right now. And the stuff before and the fighting here on the other side, we don't care about that. That's not what this is about.
It's got almost like a Japanese comic thing or a Japanese film thing where they're showing you tableaus and they're showing you little episodes of their lives.
Yeah.
And by the end, it will all come together.
Sure.
But right now, it's kind of just like, well, this will give you the feeling you need to understand what's going on here. It won't give you the context.
Yeah.
But it'll give you the feeling.
Yeah.
And then we can skip back and then we can fill it in. And they're doing these really interesting things with the weird video static.
Yeah, dark side.
To let us know that like we're not seeing everything in order and we're not seeing everything exactly as it is.
Yeah.
It's good, man.
Yeah, it's
very
really
good.
It's really, really good.
Tom King's on a tear.
Dude, he's one of those he can like do no wrong, it feels.
It really feels
and
that
I
way.
feel like him being over with Marvel and doing the Vision stuff, like I was sleeping on him a lot longer than I should have. And it wasn't until War Jokes and Riddles and he took over for Batman, which in and of itself, right, coming on the Batman run after Scott Snyder, where it was just like, well, that was some of the best Batman I've ever read. And you jump in here, I'm like, what is this? And blah, blah, blah. But since the engagement to Catwoman,
So good.
That book, book, Batman, right now, 42 and 43 is what we'll cover here, has just been on another level, and I have just, it's like the one that, it's what Walking Dead or Invincible used to be to me.
Yes.
Where it's like, this is stop everything. There's a new Batman out. I'm going to go read that and get into it.
And I'm not, like, you know me, I'm not a huge Batman guy.
Gee, neither of us are. Yeah, we're big Superman guys.
And like, no shade to the Snyder run, which was brilliant. Like, it absolutely was, but I feel like Batman's on an entirely other level now.
Right. Well, I mean, and I know this will insult a lot of Batman fans. For me personally, wow, he has dimensions. It's not just I'm angry and I'm going to protect Gotham at all costs. And that was like, they've made fun of him, obviously, in recent things with that, right? Of like, Batman's has everybody gathered together and he walks in and they're all immediately like, you've been lying to us about something and now the world's going to end because of it. And instead he's like, I'm engaged to Catwoman. And we're like, what?
I love that's been the cycle for so long, because they initially did try with that sort of not the New 52, but back
Rebirth?
Before that, after Zero Hour. They really tried to like tinker with him a little bit and get rid of a little bit of the grief, and that's when like the Catwoman dating kind of really started up again. They were making jokes about how he owned 100 Batmobiles, and like they were trying to do something with it, you know, like right before Dick became Batman.
Right.
But I think that was their shortcut, right? Is if we make Dick Batman, we get rid of all of this emotional angst and we can have a Batman that has a little more depth.
And he's fun, and he has dimensions. Like, I think in the Tom King Batman, especially at the end of the latest issue 43, him and Catwoman in bed just having a real conversation, right? And we've had these conversations throughout this run right now since the engagement. It's really awesome to see. He's not Bruce. He still is Batman. He still sees himself as Bat, and he calls her Cat, and she calls him Bat, and it's like, it's just awesome to see him explore it and not always be, oh my God, it's the protector.
Well, if I'm going to be the Bat, if I'm going to be Batman at all times, like Bruce Wayne doesn't have a family, but Batman has a family.
Yeah.
And so like, I've got to be a good family member to my family and my friends, and like, that means Batman has to be a better, more accessible person.
Yeah.
You know, and you see that with Batman and the Signal too. You see it with Duke and things like that, where he's trying to be just like a little better.
Yeah.
And a little more rounded as Batman. Like, he's never going to be Bruce Wayne. But it's so, dude, The Double Date is one of the best comic books ever written. What was that, 36 or 37?
Yeah, somewhere back there. The Superman and Lois. We've talked about it on the show. Yeah.
So good. Just the moment they meet each other in the elevator shaft is the most perfect crystallization of those two characters and their relationship.
And the conversation they're having with their significant other on both sides, right? That are saying the same things of, he's just a better man than I am.
He's so much better than me. He's better at this. He's better at that. The thing with Wonder Woman that happened.
Yeah,
right
we talked about that on the show too. We spoil
so
everything on the show. You don't have to worry about it.
Okay.
But yeah, like that, when that cliffhanger happened, right, of them stuck in the other universe, and it's been 30 years or whatever it's been already, and they like lean in, I was like, holy shit. And then to come back and have them do that laugh and like, we can't, and then get him out and have the conversation with Kat of like, were you good? He's like, I could have been better.
Yeah, and she's like, okay, we'll be better.
Yeah, you've been I understand what you just went through. It's okay.
But I love, the other thing is just Tom King, his attention to detail that makes these characters a little more real. He doesn't do a Diana that can't speak English, but he does English as second language, and I'm 90% there. You must actually, with your wife, feel this all the time, where it's fluent and it's understandable.
That's not the word you want. That's not the conjugation you want.
Born and raised here, you wouldn't use that phrase.
100%.
And he nailed that so beautifully with Diana in a way that, like, if you read Wonder Woman and if you read Trinity and like some of the other stuff that's been going on, people have been messing around with. Yeah. But they can't seem to figure out that tone. And he just dialed right into it.
Yep, perfect, exactly. And it was something reading it, like I've seen it toyed with, but it's never felt natural. Yes. Where every conversation she was having with him felt natural. I was like, that's awesome.
Tom King, baby.
Yeah. So one of the books I have on here is, I not my best of the month, but like I jumped in finally after so many people told me and started reading The Vision, the complete series or whatever. And it's huge, obviously, because it's everything right there in one book, which I think, well, I don't want to put an idea in your head, but it's great. I'll get to it eventually.
Okay.
It's great, and when people pitched me on it back in the day, I was just like, well, it's the Vision. I'm like, I don't know anything about him. Like, you don't need to, right? It's the Vision, and he wants to be normal. So he moves to the suburbs of DC with his made-up robot wife and their two made-up robot kids.
I need a family, so I'm gonna make one.
Yeah.
Because why not?
Yeah.
I will say that is one thing, like looking at Marvel and DC over the last couple years.
Yeah.
And really, probably since I started reading comics, DC is great with shut it down immediately, restart it, and a great new beginning happens.
Yeah.
But then they're kind of just like, I don't know where we're going from
Meandering.
here.
They meander a lot.
Whereas Marvel is great with the soft reboot, the onboarding.
Sure.
You know, like I think the Aaron and Bacalo run on Doctor Strange was a great example of this. Like they knew the Doctor Strange movie was coming. They knew that they needed to do something with Doctor Strange. Instead of like a hard reboot, welcome to the new issue #1 of Doctor Strange, the all new, all different Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
They were just like, how do we put Doctor Strange in a place in his life where new readers can jump in, but other people who've been reading Doctor Strange can jump in too, and it feels totally new to everybody, but totally familiar at the same time. And I think Marvel's very good at that. And when you do the Vision, it's kind of like, we all know the Vision.
Yeah.
How do I do something with the Vision that kind of takes it and tweaks it and makes it new and interesting?
Yeah.
So new people can get into the Vision, and then that's their gateway drug to Avengers and Champions and all that
Well,
stuff.
it was funny, you know, this isn't, we don't record this like a normal show, so it's not even that different. As of recording this, we're going to do the Captain America Civil War review right after this for MCU Interview.
Yeah.
And so having read this on the plane, the Vision, the complete series or whatever, and then last night watching it, I was like, oh, right, this is... Both what I just saw of him in Age of Ultron influenced how I read this book, and then seeing him, it all does feel like cool. Greg, you haven't read a Vision comic ever in your life before this, but you know him enough from the movies for him to come here and have this conversation with his wife about like how this is a waste of time because why would you say this if you're already saying you've already said this? And that's nice isn't the word to use here, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And them argue semantically about language. It was like, yep.
But it's brilliant because it is, and I mean, that's the whole metaphor of the series. It's a conversation that I would have with my wife or or you know, any of my significant others in the past where it's like, if you know what I'm going to say, and I know what you're going to say, and we know exactly what the appropriate thing to say is, why are we saying anything except the one thing that needs to be said?
Yeah.
And it's so funny watching synthezoids, watching robots do this, and it's totally more human than human. It's the same thing with like Mr. Miracle and Barda, you know what I mean? Where Scott and Barda are arguing, and they're these warriors from another planet, but they're in this relationship, and he makes everything very grounded and real. In that way.
And I mean, for Mr. Miracle, jumping back to that, especially this issue 7, it is even when he was on trial and like they opened the boom tube in their house and Barda put down like the veggie platter.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm gonna go get this. And everybody's sitting there in costumes looking like idiots. Same thing here of like, right, the sirens whatever come through and they sit in the waiting room while they're at war with him.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're not gonna do this today because of her. And like, you know, you need this to open if you need to cut through. It's like, this is such a great way of like how these worlds would all mash up together.
And it feels like if you've worked with somebody for 10 years or whatever, or you've been friends with somebody for 20 years, you will get into a fist fight with them one night, and then the next day it's like, well, I told you I'd drive you to the DMV. Yeah. And that's what Tom King is good at. He's good at taking those things, and he's like, well, what does that mean to somebody like Batman? What does that mean to somebody like Mr. Miracle?
Yeah.
What it means is like your brother is God now. And he can put you on trial and he can kill you, but you can punch him in the face when he comes through the door.
Yeah.
Because he's your brother and you're allowed to. And I love that stuff. He's so good with those moments. And he's so good at like, you need something to be grounded. To go back to why I love his Batman so much. Something needs to be grounded to make the comic book stuff feel real enough to have stakes.
Yeah.
You know, and with Superman, he's always had his family and his friends. And he has his moments of doubt as Clark that have always made him feel like real for me. Mm-hmm. And so giving him not just wards and servants and things like that he has a respect for, but he also outranks, giving him Catwoman now as a significant other makes him feel that way to me. You know,
it makes him feel way more real,
yes.
Which is what Tom King's great at. Like you're saying,
while meanwhile,
synthezoids.
fucking Scott Snyder is like, there are multiple universes based on death metal music, and fuck yeah, here we go. Like, I love it, man.
Well, that's why it works, right? Is that I've always said comics, and I always say games are diverse, comics are so diverse, and then right now DC and Marvel are so diverse, and the fact that reading the latest issue of Batman, right, which is the end of the whole Ivy taking over the world thing, like, the way Batman just talks and Catwoman just talk through the problem with her, and you're reading the words, and it's like, oh wow, he's not trying to distract her and then punch her in the face. He is very much like, you're hurting, and she's like, you're hurting, let us help you. And they bring in Harley, and they're very much like, no, but you two are. Like, we know you are, so like, talk to each other and fix this.
And I love it. It's not the Socratic method thing that he's done with everybody else who's close to him his whole life. It's not like, we're talking and I'm leading you to the conclusion that I want you to come to.
Yeah.
It's not about that. So it's just cool to see it as equals. But yeah, I do like these different tonal things that are going on where you can read metal and then you can read...
Did you like metal? I still haven't read it. I have them all, but it just doesn't seem like something I would love.
Metal is like... It's peak Snyder. It's definitely like Snyder just like, I've been Scott Snyder, ladies and gentlemen. Good night. I hope you enjoyed Batman. You know? It's weird.
Okay.
And it is very like, it leans into the more Snydery Grant Morrison side of DC where it's like 80 different worlds and they're weird as shit, and like Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman are special in all of them, and you know what I mean? Like, and it's odd. Okay. Like, it's odd. If you like Elseworldy stuff and Earth One stuff, like we're going to talk about.
Last episode, we had comic historian Benny on, and he was pitching me on it. And like the way he was describing is like, oh, wow, you're doing such a better job than any of the covers or any of the things I've seen have ever made me interested. It's
an aesthetic that doesn't appeal to me, right?
Exactly.
It's this weird, you've got this weird like goth S&M Joker Batman on the covers, and I'm feeling like a little bit like this is not the Batman story I want at this point. But it's silly and weird and metaphysical in like a way that Scott Snyder is very good at putting into Batman.
Yeah.
He's one of the people that I've always thought could put supernatural stuff and weird kind of occulty stuff into Batman, and I don't mind it as much.
Okay.
You know, one of the reasons I like the Batman Earth One stuff is because it feels like a much more real Batman, 100%. And I kind of need that.
Yeah.
Whereas like Scott Snyder can be like, owl people and Clayface and
they've been around forever,
time travel and multiple worlds, and you're like, yeah, fuck it, why wouldn't Batman be there? Yeah, exactly. You know, he's very good at tying that together. Metal is a very interesting experiment in terms of that. So if you like that kind of weird stuff,
we finally got another Doomsday Clock, number 4.
Yes.
What did you think of that? What are your thoughts in general about Doomsday Clock?
They are doing an excellent job with a story I feel like I didn't want or doesn't need to be told.
100%.
Do you know what I mean? And
when they were like, we're merging Watchmen, I'm like, fuck no, like just leave Watchmen alone. Even when they did before Watchmen, I was like, stop.
Yeah, I didn't read before Watchmen because we know what happened before Watchmen. The world was a happier place.
Yeah,
it was the Justice Society of America. We understand where Watchmen came from. And the more you sort of explain it, the more it takes away from the dramatic tension of the original story, which I feel like if there are a billion multiverses, let Watchmen just be its own over here that never gets touched.
Yeah.
But if you're going to integrate it into the DC universe, which I'm not stoked for, they're doing it in a really wonderful way. You know what it feels like the most to me?
What's that, Anthony Carboni?
You watched that Blade Runner sequel?
No, I did not.
So Blade Runner 2049 is a very beautiful, very loving, very careful follow-up to Blade Runner that just knows it can never touch Blade Runner. The way they're approaching Doomsday Clock feels similarly. It feels like if we are supposed to do this, and if people do want this, and if this is where we're going, let's do it as carefully as possible and as well as we can, while knowing that it can never be as great as the original. Yeah. That's kind of the way it feels to me.
Well, that was my thing. When issue 1 dropped, got it, opened it up, read through it, and I was like, let's see how, okay. And then when it ends, it was like, that was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And then as somebody who had kind of written it off, I had to go like, is this in continuity? Like, you got to jump in and be like, wait, so what's happening? And then you find these articles where it's like, oh, well, it's supposed to be, 12 issues over a year. And when we get to the end, it'll link back in. And then it's like, well, now it's going to be 24 months. It's going to be like 2 years of this book. You're like, oh, fuck, it's every other month. Okay, cool. Like,
the thing that I just didn't want is they made it, at the beginning of Rebirth, they really made it seem like the key to Rebirth was going to be this.
Yeah.
And now it feels like they've backed off of that a little bit, and they
100%.
want it to be its own thing. And now I'm much more comfortable with it.
Yeah, and that's why it works for me too, is like, cool. Now that you've extended the timeline, now that you've got Bendis and he's going to do all this stuff and he's talking about how like they're going to, Action 1000 is going to really reset the slate and his Man of Steel is going to change everything and then we're going to be bi-weekly, and it's like, I want to talk about all that with you because I know you're a Superman guy. I'm like, great, let this be its own thing. We don't need to worry. I don't need to see Gotham turn on Batman and eventually be like, done with Batman and their sides. Like, we don't need that. I understand where we are in the universe. Let's just go, because I am super into the story. And like, even issue 4, where when we jumped in and it is all about Rorschach, finding out who Rorschach is, I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And it was, for the first time in the series so far, as someone who likes Watchmen, the time when I was like, fuck, maybe I need to go back and reread Watchmen.
Yeah.
Because I remember bits and pieces about the dad, but where does that all really fit into how this is working?
And when they were like, oh, it's Malcolm's son, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm feeling this.
Yeah.
I'm feeling, because I thought that side plot with him and Rorschach just slowly dragging him down.
Yeah.
Was one of the most interesting, like, emotional things
100%.
in Watchmen. And so having it be his son was cool. Mothman, I really loved.
Yeah.
Like, they made Mothman into this sweet, sad, like, wonderful character. And the letters at the end were just so wonderful. They're really making me care about Doomsday Clock more than I ever thought I could have. And I think that's the highest praise you can give to something like this.
And, Kind of Funny's above Comic Outpost Experience, and they put the comics up. So every Wednesday, it's fun to get out and walk by, because I don't like to look ahead. I'm like, oh, what's going on? Yeah. And, like, that is, like, the one where I double take. Holy shit, there's a new Doomsday Clock out? And, like, run upstairs and download it right away and try to read it, because I want to know what's happening in that story. And it sucks it's this long now, time-wise.
Isn't it fascinating to be just, like, super into this Watchmen tie-in and super into Batman stuff as somebody who's like, I'm like a Superman and Flash and Green Lantern guy.
Right. Yeah, and totally.
And to be into like all this stuff, I'm just like, wow, they're really making me interested in these things that I didn't think I could be interested in.
And so let's pull a thread on that then. I'm finding it now, after being super into Jonathan Kent, after everything that's happened in the Superman books. Once they announced Bendis and they were like, cool, Action 1000 is going to be this huge moment, and then we're going to totally put Man of Steel out there and redo everything. I found it so hard to read Superman books now. Yeah. Because I'm like, well, now we're just killing time. Like, I don't know what you're going to change, but I'm also not too worried about where these stories are going.
And that's the biggest thing as a DC fan. Since I was first aware of Zero Hour was the first time I was aware of DC. Like, I knew about Crisis.
Yeah.
Because Crisis was always mentioned, like, in reverent whispers.
Yeah.
And,
this is when it reset to
and I had read the John Byrne Man of Steel.
Yep.
Because it's just fucking amazing, and I'm a Superman fan. But Zero Hour was the first time I saw that, like, oh, DC's just gonna do this. Like, this is a thing that you have to be okay with. With DC is like, they pull the e-brake, and you and I last year were having a lot of problems with the death of Superman, the death of the new Superman.
Yeah.
And we were talking about how are we going to get out of it? What are they going to do? What's going to happen?
I bring this up all the time when I talk about Rebirth and how they changed over and brought back our Superman and our Lois and then brought Jonathan in there. And I say it about a whole bunch of different stuff, mainly about the end of Justice League.
Yeah.
But I always quote you from when we were talking, because we text every Wednesday about it.
Yeah.
And I remember you saying, I don't like how we got here, but I like where we are now.
The DC Comics story.
Exactly. And so that's the same thing, like, right? I'm just like, yeah, they're great at that. And like, I really liked where we were, and I loved Super Sons, still love Super Sons.
I still love Super Sons.
I think both Action and Superman are a weird hodgepodge of hit and miss.
Yes.
Where it's like, holy shit, you guys get it. This book is perfect. And then now they're on a dinosaur planet. I'm like, what the fuck? Why?
Why are they on a dinosaur planet? I don't know.
Yeah, right? Like,
because we gave you the moment that you wanted with Lex Luthor, and now we're just gonna like fucking, I don't know,
we're
tread
doing this
water.
Thing. Yeah, we're doing this 3-arc.
Like, don't give me that. Like, get to where you're getting to.
Yeah.
But I will say my thing with that was, you remember the conversations we had. I really didn't want them to take the easy way out of bringing our Superman back.
Yeah.
I wanted whiny communist Superman, pinko leftist blogger Superman. I wanted him to turn into our Superman. We discussed this. I was like, I want our Superman to die. I want our Superman to die, and I want that young Superman to see the sacrifice of who
and
he
understand
could be,
who Superman really is.
and just be like, I gotta get my shit together and stop being a whiny bitch and be Superman. Yeah, I wanted the growth.
Yeah, no,
you gave
totally.
me this guy. Now give me the growth. Make it pay off. Because his death, when I was a kid, I wore the armband.
Me too.
When Superman
Me too.
died. I wore it to school.
Oh yeah, big time.
I wore the armband.
There's the St. Petronella yearbook photos of me in it, saying something in class.
This Superman died, and I was like,
Who the fuck
cool,
cares?
that's over with.
Yeah, exactly.
Bring in the old guy.
Yeah.
That's not the feeling I wanted to have about
Right.
it. And I felt a little robbed by that. But there have been some very good moments since then.
Oh,
in
yeah.
the Superman books.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
And I
is-
don't want them to throw those away because the Bendis is coming on.
I don't think they will. He said like it's gonna be, I'm gonna shake things up. We're gonna reset the status quo. All the same shit you say when you take. There's only one hole.
There's
only one hole in that LaCroix can eat a drink out of.
It's me. I'm trying to.
You'll get there. You're gonna get. I believe in you.
They have the advanced level cans.
Yeah,
here.
exactly. Oh, we have every kind here. I don't think it's going to be as drastic as some people think it's going to be.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it's going to be either. Like, I don't know how they're going to reset it, what they're going to do. But I'm also, like, their entire idea behind it, I think is so brilliant as long as it's totally not what I want.
Yeah, I think some of the things that we've seen throughout the last 6 months to a year, 6 months probably, have been like little things that he asked for.
Yeah.
Hey, I need you to like alley-oop. I need you to give me the layup on this one.
Yeah.
Like, here's what I need to happen when I come on. And I'm sure they're working together on it. And I think that Luthor crushing the crest moment, the shield moment, I think was probably part of that, where he's like,
we got to get back here.
He's like, here's what I want to do with Lex Luthor. You need to set me up for it.
Yeah, he can't be walking around in that suit anymore.
Yeah, I'm Superman. Like, what? Like, it's weird. Like,
was
it's
super weird,
right?
It was super weird.
Like, it's weird. I'm Superman too, man. And it's just
Yeah.
like, what is this thing?
Yeah.
What is going on?
But it was a fun ride.
It was
of
a fun
Lex being
ride.
a good guy for a while,
Yeah.
and like not liking regular, like doing it to honor Superman, and then our Superman showed up and he kind of believed, and it's like whatever, okay.
But yeah, they've been having a lot of fun with Rebirth.
Yeah.
And I think now I'm kind of like, all right, let's tie it all together. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I can't wait for the Bendis stuff. I'm excited
Yeah.
for Action 1000. I bought that, whatever hardcover.
Oh, the fancy man
Yeah, I was
version.
like, well, I got it. Well, it's not even. It's like got essays and stuff and all these different things.
Yeah,
Like,
I got
that
that
sounds
one
great.
too.
Yeah, of course. We had to. They're gonna put it out there, sure.
I get the freaking Rebirth hardcovers too.
Oh, do you really?
Like, I'm just like, I don't know. I'll sit for months and be like, I don't know how I feel about Rebirth. Oh, the new collected.
Oh, they're putting out some new expensive things
there
for
it
it, huh?
goes. All the spines match. It's on my shelf.
How do you feel about the trunks coming back for Superman?
Feel great about it.
Yeah, me too.
I understand why in live action it looks strange, but in the comic book it looks like it's missing something.
Yeah.
It's not important to me either way.
I'm looking forward to how they explain it.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna have to mention like you're putting the trunks back on. Like he'll be like, yeah, because of X, Y, and Z or
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
It's anti shrink ray trunks.
Yeah,
it's gonna be
exactly.
some weird cosmic Superman stuff. Something silly.
Just be done with it. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I want to get to required reading. I know we're all over the place here, but I want to talk about a couple other things. My book of the month, Oblivion Song, #1.
Oh,
have you read this yet?
I have not yet.
It's really good. It's Robert Kirkman's new book, and I know I've always made the joke that I'm a huge Kirkman fanboy because I am, obviously,
Yeah.
Invincible, Walking Dead, which we'll talk about here in a second. But I knew nothing about this. I was like, another post-apocalyptic tale? No thanks, not really feeling that or whatever. And then got an issue, started reading. I was like, fuck, I'm wrong, I'm all in. It's basically, there's been, in our world, right, a decade ago, there was this dimensional tear or whatever. All these monsters came in, started wrecking shop or whatever. We figured out a way to go to another dimension, and a whole bunch of us did. And it's like our normal world again.
Yeah.
But we still have people left behind. And so it's this guy who goes back to get people and bring them.
Okay.
But it had been, and the book starts with him, spoiler alert, finding 2 people. And it's been years since they had found anybody. So like the government wants to defund the program. He's like, I have to keep going and da-da-da. So it's this tale of 2 worlds separated by this very thin interdimensional line or whatever that I don't fully understand because it's issue 1 or whatever.
Sure.
But super great read, super interesting universe he's already built that I want to get into and do more with.
I'm into it, man. I love his stuff. I love the twisty-turny Robert Kirkman stuff, man.
Right. Are you still reading Walking Dead?
I am in and out of Walking Dead. I'm behind on it right now.
Tim and I have been talking because, it comes up all the time. Walking Dead 177, this month's issue, another one that's really good. And I feel like, with the exception of now where we're on this like maybe 4 months in a row run, before then, I was always, I don't know, where are we? There's too many characters. I can't keep it all straight, blah, 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 blah. They finally put it together with who Eugene, I don't know, this isn't a huge spoiler, but who Eugene had been talking to on the walkie-talkie.
Okay.
And like from that issue's journey forward, and actually I guess from the big character death around then forward, it's been like, cool, here's Rick, here's Michonne, here's Maggie, here's Eugene. These are the main things. We're not really making you remember who the fuck this character is, because they're always like, I don't remember who that is. This one's another great one. I don't want to spoil stuff for you. I know we spoiled last time, but they continue to deliver on the cliffhangers from the book before, which was the big fear. They had a pretty big cliffhanger with Michonne, right? Okay. And it was like, fuck, am I gonna have to wait? Is it gonna be a Kirkman thing where I wait 7 months to find out what actually is going on?
Yeah.
And then it was
he gives you a year of meanwhile, and you're just like, oh,
I don't care about these fuckers in the field. Then it was the next issue they delivered, and then gave you another cliffhanger. And the next issue they delivered, and they've been really, really good about that. And they introduced more characters here who have a little bit more diverse stuff, and a new character called Mercer, who I liked a lot.
Every once in a while, like when somebody says it's on a high note right now, I'll come back in, I'll see how far behind I am. I'm like, okay, I'll do a marathon weekend.
Yeah,
I'll catch up. That's the only way I can do it. I can't do Walking Dead issue by issue. I've learned that. It's not a book that I enjoy issue by issue.
For me, that book currently is Saga. I love Saga. Mm-hmm. Saga is great, but I made the mistake of ignoring Friends for years on Saga. Yeah. So then I had a flight where I caught up on it on trades, and I was like, this is awesome. Give me more. And now it went month to month, and it is that I opened, what was it? Number 50. Yeah. And it's sort of like, all right, who is this person again? And what are they doing? Like, fuck. There's just so much entertainment and content from all forms that I just can't keep it straight.
Well, and it's for Saga, it's one of those comics where when you read it, some comics just feel like they go by way too fast.
Yeah.
And a single issue of Saga just feels like it's just like, oh no. Like it's such a hard wait, but I do like doing Saga issue by issue just for just for that reason where it's just like, I need more, you know? Yeah.
But then it's the opposite where I put on the pull list article over on patreon.com/kindafunny where you got the show that I was like, and this is going to be the month I'm going to buckle down and finally catch up on all new Wolverine because I love Tom Taylor. Yeah. I love Gabby. I love everything that's fucking happening over there. And I didn't do it because I looked at it, I'm like, fuck, I'm really far behind. And this flight's only so long. I want to read this, that.
The beginning of that arc with the that they just ended, the Orphans of X, like they ended before this happened, was like that for me. I ducked out and then I ducked back in and I was like, right, there are like 90 Wolverine and Wolverine-esque people I need to remember right now. Like, okay, give me 2 issues and my brain will kick in, and that's kind of what had to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I need to get back to it and do all that. And then a final shout out from me, Supergirl number 19, a book that's going away. Did you read this one?
No, I'm one behind.
Wait,
or am I? I might be caught up.
This is the one about Lee, the non-binary friend now of Supergirl.
Oh, no, I'm at the one before.
Okay, cool.
I'm at the one before.
This is another great example of where I think comics work and where the House of L really works. We'll get to my pitch for Superman comics later, but like, I want a grounded, this is a person living in our planet but has abilities, and that's totally what this is, where this is, Supergirl saves Lee, who's non-binary. They're getting bullied at school. They have to deal with all the stuff. Supergirl sees that they're struggling when she saves them, and then it is like, Supergirl just doubles back like a couple days later and is like, hey, are you okay? And like, how do you remember me? And like, what are you doing? And like checks in and then is just their friend when they need it the most.
I love that. That awesome. Reminds me of the Superman that came out recently where he takes the kids from the hospital
up
to the moon.
No. It was one of the ones. Yeah.
And I was just like, this is, I love this. Yeah, These are the moments. You can't do it all the time, obviously. Yeah. You don't want everything to just be like this super saccharine, like whatever. But to do it like once a year, twice a year, to just remind me that like...
Well, especially for Supergirl, a book that And when it started for Rebirth, I jumped on and I was like, oh, okay, they're trying to keep it more in line with the show. That's fine.
It was very villain of the week.
But I fell off it.
Yeah.
I fell off and was gone. And then I saw that it got canceled. And then I saw this one it was actually in one of our readers here in the pull list was talking about it. So I jumped in and read it. And I was like, yep, what a perfect way. They do a little bit of world building in the front where I was this guy who's a skeleton that I don't even know talking. And I was like, whatever. Okay, here we go. And then
was it the Director Bones?
Yeah, Director Bones. I don't know Director Bones.
He's the head of the DEO.
I know that now.
He's a mysterious skeleton man.
I feel like when I left, he wasn't the head of the DEO.
No, he's the head now, and he's a bad skeleton.
Apparently, yeah. Whatever. Cool, sure, that's fine with me. But yeah, the book's really good, so we should check it out. Anthony Carboni. Required reading was Earth 1. Green Lantern Earth 1 Volume 1.
Yes.
Recommended, or not even recommended, he didn't know yet, but Comic Storian chose this one for us. What did you think?
Maybe my favorite Earth 1 yet.
Bold words!
I know.
You love Earth 1.
I do love Earth 1.
You think it's better than Batman? I love Earth 1 Batman
Earth
so
1
much.
Batman is very, very good, but here's why
Lay it on me.
I think Green Lantern Earth 1 is perfect. Batman
Kev, can I get Sky Cam for art?
Yeah. It's a beautiful book.
Very pretty.
One of the most beautiful books. I was not familiar with this creative team. I know they did a Star Wars comic, and then they did.
I know you. I'm not shitting. I just want to get their names up there.
Interstellar something, which was their Image comic.
I don't know anything about
Interstellar Republic or something. And reading Earth 1 made me go and download the collection.
Oh, nice.
Of that comic because I just love this team so much, and I could see where they could do like a political sci-fi thing.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Here's why I think this is my favorite Earth 1. It is a retelling of a story in a new way that I feel like needed a tweaking and retelling. More so than like the Batman Earth 1 is brilliant and perfect.
Yeah.
But it was not a surprise to me.
Sure.
I've seen good Batman origins. Hal Jordan's origin, I think, needed a little dusting up and just kind of tweaking a little bit. And I don't know where you came into Green Lantern in your life.
Sure.
But I came in at Kyle Rayner.
Yep, me too.
I came in at Kyle.
Yeah.
Because I was a kid and I was like, I knew everybody loved Green Lantern and all the older guys at the comic book store were always like, Green Lantern. And everybody always talks about the Denny O'Neil Green Lantern, Green Arrow. It's like a seminal, but it was like a seminal comic series in the 70s. And by the time I got to, Green Lantern and wanted to jump into it, Hal Jordan, he had like the gray.
He was already old.
He was a dad.
He was an old
dad
ass
stories
man.
for dads.
Yeah.
It had the same problem that Captain America had before Wade and Brubaker came on, where it's like, I feel like this guy is my dad or my uncle.
Yeah.
And not only that, but because he is so old and the continuity has been around for so long and I'm not already familiar with it, there are characters I don't know. There's all these backstory I don't know. Like, I don't want to learn about this dad.
Yeah.
And then Kyle Rayner came in and it was like, Forget all that garbage.
Save your Kyle Rayner stuff because we have a bunch of questions. I've been talking to Kyle Rayner lately, so we have questions about Kyle Rayner.
Okay. So to come in and retell this Hal Jordan story in a way that I really love, it gets rid of some things that I think are a little important, but that just may be like my emotional Green Lantern fan.
And that's the thing is like we asked the viewers here for required reading to send in their reviews too, and it's an interesting thing of back and forth of, man, I've never read a Green Lantern before, so I didn't really understand or like certain aspects. And then other people have like, oh man, I've seen the other Green Lantern so much that I liked this difference, but I missed that the ring doesn't choose him. Like that was a big thing for me of like, you just fucking found the ring and put it on.
It's huge. That was the biggest difference. But the updating of him to be an astronaut instead of a fighter pilot, I really enjoyed.
That was cool.
Carol Ferris being the Weyland-Yutani Corporation.
Just always on the other end of the line, and you know you're in trouble if they're calling.
Yeah, and maybe they sent you out into trouble on purpose because they don't care because you're an expendable space miner. Like, there's a lot of Alien in here.
Yeah, there is.
There's definitely a lot of Alien, especially in the first third of this. But something I always ask myself with these Earth Ones is like, if DC made a movie of this, and this is how everybody learned who this hero was, would I think this is a great movie, and would people think this is a great movie?
Yeah.
Or if this was the pilot episode of the Green Lantern TV series.
Sure.
And it's like, we've got to tweak this, and we've got to make it, this is such a good retelling of that. It leaves some questions, and it leaves some things kind of like, nebulous, but I think it does it on purpose.
Oh, sure.
I think at this point they know that any Earth 1 gets a volume 2.
Right.
You know?
And if you're unfamiliar with an Earth 1, maybe you're not a DC fan, the idea here is that Green Lantern Earth 1, obviously it's completely independent story, it's all original, it's playing with the tropes or whatever, but it's just this hardcover that came out. It wasn't issue by issue. This didn't come out 19 months ago and has been collected. It all got dropped at once. Here's this one story. It's what I always argue for when I say blow up continuity.
Yeah.
Just put an awesome artist and an awesome writer together and let them create, here's our story, and maybe in 2 years we'll go back to it and have you another volume, but...
That's why I've always loved Elseworlds and one-shots and things like that, although they tend to leave that stuff for like, what if Batman was also a Dracula now? You know, like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But maybe, you know...
Maybe little tweaks.
Yeah, little tweaks, like when they did Batman Black and White as a series, and it was just like, here are these little stories about Batman.
Yeah.
I was just like, yes. Or when... the original plan for Legend of the Dark Knight, when that was a series, where it's just like, here are just stories of Batman.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if they're real, doesn't matter if they're fake, doesn't matter if you're familiar.
Right.
Doesn't matter if they match up. This is sort of like that.
And I love that they tweaked with what you expected. Kilowog showing up and not being like, what are you gonna do? And you poser, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's just like, no,
I don't know either.
I'm just this dude. I have it, but I don't really understand. And I'm smart and I'm doing all these. I'm not a meathead.
And the idea of Hal Jordan, a more tempered Hal Jordan. Hal Jordan traditionally is hotshot fighter pilot.
He has no fear.
I have no fear, but that also means half the time I'm just kind of a dick.
Yeah.
Whereas like this Hal Jordan was a NASA scientist. He was a NASA astronaut. And so he says to himself like, no, I jump in, but I make sure when I jump in, I know what's going on. And that's a huge difference.
Yeah, totally.
And I loved that, to see like a more tempered, sort of thoughtful Hal Jordan, because that's kind of what they turn him into anyway over time.
Yeah. When he settles into the role,
Yeah, and to just have him start off that way, I think is great, and it saves you a lot of early Green Lantern stories of like, oh, look what you did, hothead, where it's tranquilo on that shit.
Yeah, I think you nailed it for me when you said this would be a good pilot episode of the show, because my one problem is I'm like, damn, this moves quick. And I feel like there's some jumps in logic in terms of just like everybody's on board or this, or Hal knows a little bit more what to do, and it's just like...
Well, they find an alien ship,
and
they're like, oh my God, an alien.
Yeah.
You know, there was aliens, and now we know that there's aliens, and this is the biggest thing we've ever found. And then like a day later, he's like, what's up, aliens? Teach me how to use this ring, and what's going on your planet?
Hey, aliens, I'm just flying around doing this thing. This thing takes me wherever, what I need to do. It's like, wait, what? Like, I feel like...
Hey, what's up? It's me, and I know about all you aliens, and I'm totally fine with it.
Could use a bit more of that before we get going.
But, you know, they are done as one-shots. They are done as these graphic novels.
And I know, I'm not saying... And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the book. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
I think for me... Batman's still on top in terms of Earth Oneness, and even
Volume 2. But you know what? Like I reread like all of them before I reread this, because I was like, I want to know. I want to be able to compare them.
Yeah.
Volume 2, especially of Earth 1 for Batman, was like, whoa, I'm in it.
Yeah.
But I think if you take Volume 1 to Volume 1, I put this up against Batman. I maybe put this ahead of Batman.
Okay.
Just because...
For me, it's just merged into one thing, so it's hard to keep it all straight.
Well, I think for me, the other thing about Batman Earth 1, which I like, but kind of makes it get off to a slow start, is like Batman's just bad at everything.
Yeah.
Which I love.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, it means things start a little slower.
Sure.
I love that this is just like full on.
Well, I feel like
sci-fi uprising.
And that's why I get excited for Earth 1, Volume 2 of this, but like for the same reason I like Batman and Superman more, where it was like, cool, ground rules are established. Now we're out there being heroes. We understand what's happening in the world a little bit more.
And that's the other thing, is I feel like, even though these are opportunities to retell the origin stories of these characters, the best telling of Superman's origin is All-Star, where it's 4 panels. Doomed planet, kindly couple. You know what I mean? Like, that's all you need. So, like, get me
into the action.
Get me into the action. Get me where I need to be, especially with these larger characters. Eventually, we're going to get to stuff where it's like, Booster Gold, Earth 1, and like then we're gonna need some stuff.
Did you read Teen Titans? Like I started.
I've not read Titans yet.
I was just like, I'm not even the biggest fan of this Titans lineup, so it's just so hard for me to care. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, get into it. So I do like that. I do like some of the other tweaks, because there's streamlining that's happening, right? That's one of the other things that's fun, is the streamlining of the lore. So like Manhunters and Guardians and the Yellow Corps.
Yeah,
right?
That was an awesome reveal. when the Guardian walks back, right? And he's just like, they didn't do what I wanted to do because I wanted to blow up the battery. I wanted the battery to be gone. But I've fixed all my problems. And everybody holds up yellow rings.
Cool, because I also made yellow rings because we're just going to simplify this story.
Yeah.
And like if the Guardians are assholes and the Guardians do this, then why wouldn't they also do this?
Yeah.
And so I do love that. I feel like we're going to get, V2, we're probably going to get Sinestro, which is dope.
I loved the Sinestro in the book, right? Where they don't even make a big deal about it. Somebody was like, I think they drew a character to look like, no, that's Sinestro.
That's Sinestro.
That's
He's
Sinestro.
there.
That's how this starts. He is a Green Lantern, and so it's baller that he's just like, why would we listen to you? And then he's like in one other panel in the background.
That's it, yeah.
Yes, thank you. That's exactly what I want. Speaking of it, though.
There is one big question that I have.
Do you want to let me read some reader reviews? Because we're not leaving Green Lantern Earth 1 yet. Maybe we can piggyback off of those. Jericho wrote in, said this is his first ever Green Lantern story, so he's excited about it.
Welcome.
Unfortunately, this book was not what I expected. I could get behind the story, but at some points it jumped around a little bit too much for me. I understand that this is a different take on the origin of Hal Jordan and the history of the Green Lantern Corps, but for some reason it didn't win me over. It seems Hal is not a special person. He's just one lucky dude who found a ring and knows very quickly how to use it and what it can do. Agreed. But I also agreed how they started trying to break it down, where he was like, cool, this is a machine. I use machines. What are its limitations?
Yeah.
They went at it with a clinical mindset of like, all right, cool, I'm a space guy. How do I figure this out?
Certain things about this are self-evident and almost reflexive. The same way, like, I can get into a car and I can turn the key and it's going to start idling forward. Now what?
Yeah, exactly.
How do I become a race car driver?
Jericho continues, the Manhunters seemed overpowered until they were not. They didn't really fulfill a good role as villains, even though we know who the true villain actually is on the last few pages. Or not. I don't know.
Yeah.
Now, what I really liked was the last battle scene when all the Lanterns came together in one big force and freed the battery to release its energy and rescue a lot of strange aliens. Really cool. The art was dope. The cliffhanger at the end was pretty awesome, too. The Guardian's master plan didn't really work out. He has a plan B. More Lanterns? Woo! I like that part.
Yeah.
All in all, I like the idea that the Lanterns are a different core and their ideals. And the different core. But as it was an introduction, I really hoped for something better. Unfortunately, I didn't get it. Maybe when I reread this one day, I'll actually like it more than I did now. And then the rest of the reviews all seem to be coming from people like us who know Green Lantern already and we're ready for something different, which I think is an interesting takeaway.
Yeah, because I think we all feel sort of that way, where the lore of the Green Lantern Corps can be top heavy, especially post emotional spectrum and all the different colors.
The Lantern Wars,
yeah. Like there's a lot of like just deep, rich rainbow lore now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like to have it without all that. I do agree with you and with some other people that they may have stripped it back a little too much by being like the ring doesn't decide if you're worthy or not. But that can also bring up more interesting character moments as the core is getting formed.
Well, I loved it, right? When Hal gives the ring to that other Green Lanterns. Where you come from? No, here you go.
You're a Green Lantern.
And Kilowog's like, how do you know? And he's like, well, I don't, but like we got to try.
We need
got to
a Green
do
Lantern.
This. And it's like that's a cool idea. I'm not hung up on that being a huge problem, especially like I said that they tried to work it in. Of like this is it.
Well, I like the idea, like just like that part where Kilowog is like, you just hold the ring up to the battery. Well, it's not magic. You don't need to do anything special. Like saying there is no oath. Saying there is no oath. Saying that the rings don't pass down automatically doesn't mean that, like, as the core becomes more structured and more important, Lanterns don't more carefully pick who their ring goes to.
Right.
You know, and that could become something that it's like, it's not done by like sentient ring computer finds person, but it's like, I'm a Green Lantern. I can't be a Green Lantern anymore. Yeah. I have to choose who follows me. And I have to choose wisely. And that's kind of a cool point.
Yeah.
The big thing for me that I am questioning.
Okay.
There's some sort of authoritarian dictatorship that sort of slowly took over at least the United States, potentially the entire Earth in this book that is alluded to when Hal comes home.
Yeah.
Does this mean all of the Earth One is a title and not a number for a world? Because I didn't feel like there was an authoritarian government in Superman Earth One.
I mean, there's probably an answer on the internet. I always assume these were individual one shot. They're not Earth One, that they're all happening on the same Earth, that they're just Earth One in terms of like...
It's just a brand.
That's just what it is. Yeah, you get it and you know that it's standalone. Because Wonder Woman doesn't mention Batman and Batman doesn't mention Superman, all that jazz, And you figure At some point, I think they'd all say something about each other.
They would need to mention each other. They would need to,
which I like. I like, again, just tell me a story. I don't need to worry about else.
Because that's the other thing, man. Is as much as I love World's Finest, Batman, Superman, Justice League, as much as I love Brave and the Bold, all this stuff, Batman existing in a world where Superman exists is always hard for me.
Sure.
Batman existing in a world where the Justice League exists is always hard for me. And that's where Batman kind of got elevated into guy who knows everything.
His superpower is being Batman.
His superpower is just like he has to know everything at all times because we can't give him anything else that will make him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that to me always feels a little like, it's strange to me. So it's nice that you don't need a Batman with the weight of a Superman hanging over his head. He can just be Batman and he can just kick people in the face.
Yeah, that's all we want from him, right? Calla wrote in on patreon.com/kindafunny and says, so judging the cover of the book, I was hoping for some kind of sci-fi alien type of story, and they definitely didn't disappoint. This book is pretty fantastic. I love the way they treated Hal as a bit of a man of mystery, not like the cocky, confident air pilot in regular continuity. But they did keep certain traits like his loyalty to others and kindness. I like that the ring is not assigned to people, rather just an object you can find off the ground or a dead alien's figure, and it's up to the ring bearer how they use it. I'm a very casual Green Lantern reader, but knowing who Kilowog was in previous books made me appreciate this version of him more. For being a novice, I would recommend this book to people who haven't picked up a Green Lantern book before. It's a great standalone story.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I think the other nice thing about the ring being able to go to anybody is like it eliminates the need for the emotional spectrum of rings.
Yeah.
Because if I put on a ring and I'm a ragey guy,
sure,
I might as well be a Red Lantern. It doesn't matter, you know.
Well, that's the thing is now they're just weapons. They're just tools. How you use them will define it. And that's I always like Yellow Lanterns being like, it feeds on fear. I'm like, what a weird thing. Like, what a weird fucking thing to do to people. All right, fine.
I did like when it was like, oh, you know who'd make a great Yellow Lantern? Batman.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, it's just like, oh, that's pretty good.
That was awesome. That was cool. Jay writes in and says,
I like how we're like, it's too much and all the colors is stupid. We love it. That was a great moment.
That was a great moment in comics book. Jay says, with the opening pages, I immediately thought of Armageddon with Bruce Willis and Ben Affleck. I really enjoyed the muted colors and the panels with little to no text. This combination illustrated how desolate space can be and possibly how alone Hal feels. This also made the use of green even more brighter, which the green shines throughout the book the entire way.
The entire visual style with like the half toning, like the dot toning and stuff. Oh, it's just a beautiful book. It really is.
And then Luca gets the final review, says, I really enjoyed it. The artwork in particular was really great and helped establish the tones they were going for. I love how it transitions from more of an alien-esque sci-fi thriller, and they're using capital A, alien like the movie, into a broader cosmic adventure at the halfway point. These changes they made to the Green Lantern mythos were pretty interesting, especially with the rings being usable by anyone. Yeah,
it goes from being alien to being like Star Trek to Star Wars to like it does it all, and I kind of like that.
The main issue is that the pacing moved a little fast, especially in the middle. I wish we could have seen more of Hal learning to use the ring, and I agree that would have been cool.
Yeah,
but it was awesome all the same. So yeah, that's Green Lantern Earth 1. Now what I teased before is Anthony Carboni as guest. You get to pick what required reading is for next month for everybody.
Ooh.
You can think on it.
I will.
I was saying, putting out there, the vision is pretty good. We could go there, but I'm not putting any ideas in your head. You do whatever you want to do with it.
Okay.
Okay. Think about it.
I'll think on it.
All right. Then I'm supposed to update you on my comic book pitch, Superman. Did you ever watch that episode of the Game Over Greggy show?
I did not. I saw that you had pitched something. People seemed really into it.
People really like it. I started writing it.
Okay.
Then work caught up with me.
Yeah.
This month work still caught up with me.
Can you give me the log line? Your elevator pitch, your top line, like here's what it is.
I mean, like the top line. I mean, Game Over Greggy show for a 45-minute top line, right? But the idea is it's
the art of the pitch with Greg Miller.
Hey, let me get in there. No, it's me wanting to show why I love Superman, which is the fact that he is Clark Kent. He is not Superman, and so it starts as a story about his failings, all the missions he's failed on, and him telling Lois all these stories. And then she's actually writing that into a Word document, into a thing that gets stolen, and we need to go out and figure it. And then it's this argument of like, well, is it wrong? Why don't we were writing these stories so that people would one day understand that you're not a god, you're a normal person who has abilities obviously, but fucks up all the time.
Yeah.
Is it time to reveal that to the world? And like that dichotomy and arguing with that. And then figuring out who took this book.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
The pitch is better. I'll send you the video.
Send me the video.
But yeah, I've tinkered and noodled a few more things, especially the conversation with the person who takes the book, which I didn't have at the time. That's fleshed out way more, but I didn't actually sit down to write anything because Work.
Because work.
Yeah, but I think what I need to do, Anthony, is give myself a deadline because I feel like what's going to happen.
It's the only way things get done.
I think I got to set a deadline. I'd really like to have it, at least the first issue, written, done, laid out the way I want it, and not laid out like drawn, but laid out, scripted. I think by E3 because I have it right now as 5 issues in my outline. And if I feel like if I could just get issue 1 done, maybe that's what I need to do. Because what I was doing is just writing them and just going. So it's just like dialogue, and I know what the scene looks like in my head, but not actually writing that out and saying panel 1, panel 2, all this different stuff.
Now you need to break it up and get into the details and the nitty gritty of
it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Do it.
I'll keep updating you. I
Please
think
do.
maybe June, though. I'd like to have that done by. But I say that, and guess what? It's already fucking April. So who the hell knows? Let's jump to questions, though. Big questions. These are folks wrote in on patreon.com/kindafunny about comics and about you. Jericho starts and says, Anthony, you're of course the Star Wars expert here. What Star Wars comics can you recommend? I love the Ostrander Duersema miniseries Star Wars Dawn of the Jedi. The art was amazing. The story, of course, was amazing as well. I mean, who did not like the Knights of the Old Republic games and dabbled in a little Star Wars, the Old Republic, and just loved blah, blah, blah.
I'll tell you what. As far as older comics, the one that I always cite is Dark Empire. It was one of the old Dark Horse comics, and it is an alternate reality story where Luke accepts the Emperor's deal, and that's where really we start. Cool. And so it's a dark Luke.
Okay.
And that's a very good series. As far as the new stuff, I have to say, Marvel, as far as I'm concerned, is kind of killing it with the new stuff.
That's what Tim always says. Tim is a fan, is like, these are awesome.
It's very good. Obviously, depending on what era you're into and what characters you're into, some are going to be better than others. The Poe Dameron series is, I think, the best ongoing series Marvel has right now.
Okay.
But if you're a fan of the new films, the Captain Phasma miniseries is very good because it takes the question of, and this is what Marvel's been doing particularly well, and what the novels have always done particularly well, is it takes the question of Phasma in trash, Phasma gun to Finn?
Yeah.
Let's discuss. And how she survived, but not just how she survived, but how she kept her rank, kept out of trouble, kept herself safe for lowering the shields on Starkiller Base at the end of The Force Awakens. Sure. So it's the story of how all that happened.
Okay.
There was also a great... I love Dr. Aphra. If you're not reading Dr. Aphra, it's good. She is a character that was created specifically for the comics.
Okay.
But she used to roll with Vader. She's kind of like she's a rogue archaeologist in space.
Okay.
And her whole thing is she just steals shit from rich aliens and tries to sell it. But she runs in with all the other Star Wars characters as she's doing it. It's very good. It's kind of caper stories and things like that. But there was a arc in the Star Wars series about Yoda going to a planet where there were these like crystalline monsters, and I gotta think of what the arc is. Maybe I'll tweet it out or I'll send it to you later.
Sure, I can put it in the Patreon post.
Yeah, it's a great arc in the middle of the ongoing Star Wars series about Yoda and Luke and the parallels between them.
Okay,
that was very, very good. And there was one more that popped into my head, and I can't recall, but if it pops into my head,
just let me know. I'll put it in the post.
Let you know.
Okay.
But they've been doing some great stuff with the Star Wars comics recently. Oh, there was an arc in Vader recently, a few months ago, in the Vader series, all about how Vader got his saber.
Oh wow, okay.
And where it comes from, and it introduces you to some like really amazing characters and kind of shows the beginning of Vader as the Emperor's apprentice. Choice.
Okay.
Choice Vader.
Have there been any Watto references in any of these books?
You know, I will tell you a serious thing, Greg.
Thank you.
I combed the entire office today because we have God knows how much old merch and stuff
got a lot
like
of Star
that
Wars
lying
stuff,
around.
Yeah.
Tried to find a single Watto thing to bring to you.
Yeah, too popular. They
can't
even keep it there.
They can't keep the Watto stuff. Hey,
that's good, your mother. Jay writes in on patreon.com/kindafunny and says, Greg, on several occasions, most recently Kinda Funny Games Daily with Widow Wednesday, you have mentioned Kyle Rayner as your Green Lantern. I wanted to know why and what story arcs you would recommend. I've read Green Lantern Rebirth, Sinestro Wars, in current run, and Kyle Rayner always seems to play a pivotal part. What am I missing about the Torchbearer?
I'd just say the first Emerald Dawn and Hero Quest.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Emerald Dawn is like his whole start.
Emerald Dawn is his start, although he actually starts in. You see him for the first time in Emerald Twilight, but I think they put that in the Emerald Dawn Collected now.
Oh, nice. Him coming out of the bar or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, and I assume it's something what you touched on, we're in the very same boat, is that as somebody who I think on this show, every episode now kind of rails on continuity and kind of like, whatever, like, because it's good and it's bad.
Yeah, of course it is.
What you mentioned Crisis, of course, which resets it in mid 80s, right? And you figure that universe goes on up until New 52. That's intimidating and scares a lot of people off.
Yeah.
But it also, well, I mean, like
soft reset was
0 hour. Yeah. But I mean, like for the most part, right?
Yeah.
That is intimidating to a lot of people, but it also gives you such a connection to characters in the world. And there's another question here from Emmanuel, right? Who says, last episode, Greg discussed his memories growing up with Kyle Rayner as his Green Lantern. And I wanted to do this. And you mentioned Superboy a little bit and Tim Drake. Kyle, Superboy, and Tim all work for me as the gateway drug to making me care about, giving me an onboarding point of like, cool, they're doing a new Green Lantern and they're simplifying everything you don't like about Green Lantern, Greg, where it's like, it's not a million of them. They're not in space. There is no more yellow vulnerability. It has this thing and it's all here.
Space.
Yeah, I do. And so to get in there and have it be, here's this thing, you get to see him figure it all out as he goes, let alone the fact that I loved the rise and fall of Hal Jordan. And I know how much that pissed off Hal Jordan fans that he went fucking insane, killed all the Green Lanterns, tried to remake Coast City, went against everybody. For me, that was such a cool moment, story.
I walked into the comic book store. I guess, what was it? I must have been like 11 or 12 at that point or something. I walked in, I was like, who cares? New guy.
Yeah. Totally. But it did the thing that I think comics always want to. I was the best case scenario, right? It was a crossover with Superman that ruined Hal's life. I get to then jump on at Hal's life going down the tubes.
Yeah.
Get excited about Kyle, start buying going forward, and then I did the thing of like, well, I gotta go back. Yeah. And I bought all the Green Lanterns leading up to it because I needed to know what the fuck was happening.
It's something, and hey, Marvel, if you're out there listening, do it with one character at a time. Try not to do it with 7 characters at once. People tend to rustle some jimmies when you do that. Yeah. When you walk into a comic book store and it's like, oh, there's a new Thor. Oh, there's a new Wolverine. Oh, there's a new Hawkeye. Oh, there's a new like.
Can't do it. Can't keep up. Yeah.
You can't do it all at once. But doing it with Hal Jordan and Kyle Rayner, like you said, it was perfectly timed.
Yeah.
And for me, and when I look back on the 3 characters you mentioned now,
Tim Drake, Superboy, and Kyle.
Tim's origin is still very good to me. Superboy and Kyle feel definitely a little too over the top, made for like a 12 to 15-year-old boy at that time.
Superboy whips around. He's like, don't call me Superboy.
Don't call me Superboy. I'm wearing a leather jacket.
Did they give you an earring in the cloning pod? Because you already have a cloning. You already have an earring.
And I hit on girls because I'm Superboy.
I got better, babe. Lots better. And kisses this girl he just saved. It's like, dude, that's assault. Like, you can't do that.
Superboy.
Yeah, no.
And then Green Lantern was like super, super targeted to somebody like me who was like, he was an artist. He was an artist at the time. I was gonna draw comic books. That's what I was gonna do with my life.
Yeah.
He stumbles out of a bar wearing a 9 Inch Nails t-shirt the first time you see him. Like when he decides he's gonna make constructs, they're all like weird anime, and he's doing it for fun. And he's got like a cool hot girlfriend,
photographer girlfriend.
And I was just like,
doesn't end well for her.
This is the guy. There's a term that we use now for girlfriends that disappear. Maybe it started there.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. And but when you look back on some of his origin and some of his storytelling, it's a little bit pandery.
Sure.
But still, for me,
it works so well at the time.
Perfect.
At the time, it works so well.
Even his costume is like a very like late 90s costume.
Yeah, 100%.
Like,
that weird
Ron
fucking
Mars
mask.
art.
Yeah,
with
it's all like chunky.
But it was also like fun stuff that I liked about him. So he was also my sort of entry into where the DC universe was at that point. Because after you get Emerald Dawn, you get Hero Quest. And Hero Quest is Kyle Rayner with like, okay, Papa Smurf gives me this ring and disappears. I don't know what to do with it, but I know who Green Lantern is because I've seen him on TV.
Yeah.
I'm going to go find other superheroes. and I'm going to figure out what it means to be a superhero. And that hero quest is where he visits Batman, he visits Superman. I think he goes and sees Green Arrow. I forget who all he visits.
Yeah.
But he sees the Spectre. Alan Scott is the Spectre at that point in time. So it's Golden Age Green Lantern. So that to me was cool because it was like,
here's an introduction to everybody and how they matter.
Not
and
just
what
everybody,
they do.
but it's the introduction I would want if I was in Kyle's place.
Right.
You know, and so that to me, and I remember the Batman issue being particularly great because I was such a huge Tim Drake fan. I loved all the Robin miniseries, and like when they gave him I was just obsessed. And so when he goes and meets Batman, there's this whole thing with him and Batman where Batman's like, "Fuck you, I don't have time for this."
Yeah.
And then he winds up spending half the issue talking to Robin.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is very good.
And that for Kyle in particular, on top of everything you're saying, his arc for the longest time is, I don't know if I really belong here. And I know it sounds so preposterous now, but when they do JLA and they're like, hey, everybody, guess what? It's been decades, but the Justice League is going to be the 7 everybody fucking always wants them to be.
Yeah.
And it's going to be Superman, Wonder Woman, it's going to be Green Lantern, all that stuff. And I remember in that book from Morrison, which I loved so much, them not really trusting Kyle and like treating him like a kid, and you know, Flash is Wally, but they trust him more than they do this. And there's a great thing where when years later, when Hal comes back but doesn't come back, where it's that Hal out of time and place, where he's in their time and he's like, oh man, this is great. Hey guys, how's it been? Blah blah. And he's like, he walks up to Wally, he's like, hey Barry, and he's like, no, and like there's all these great things, but they won't tell him too much. And like they invite him to be part of the league and they do all this stuff. And Kyle Rayner's like, what the fuck, man? Like, I'm the Green Lantern. Don't bring this guy. And like Batman has to pull him aside and be like, we're keeping him here to watch him. And he's something incredibly simple but poignant to him of just like, you're our Green Lantern, but we need our enemies close. And it was like such a great thing of like, wow, acceptance finally.
Yeah.
And it was such a goony little thing that probably didn't matter to most people. But like, as somebody who'd been there for Kyle the entire way, to have them be like, no, you're our Green Lantern. You are Green Lantern. But we need to watch this guy.
Yeah, and especially the way they were kind of like, oh, Hal's coming back.
Yeah.
The way Kyle, I always felt like there was a timer on Kyle.
Of course.
And that's one of the things that kind of made me a little angry as somebody. Now, comic book companies are so much better at understanding the onboarding process and understanding walking their audience through change and making it okay. I accept Kate Barton and Clint as Hawkeye.
Yeah.
They're both Hawkeye.
Sure.
Both Wolverines are Wolverine. All of this stuff is fine to me because they're better at doing this stuff now. It was a very much, it's gonna be one or the other.
Yep.
And
there's not a world big enough for both
the
of them.
second I started feeling that, I, as the person that they had just brought in and made a fan, got very angry.
Yeah. Well, I just didn't like it when they like start, all the lanterns he killed are kind of back to life, and now Kyle has the ability to make rings and he's reforming. I'm like, no, don't do this. You're overcomplicating again and diluting the product that I like.
You're trying to give Kyle too much.
And then he becomes Ion. He's like a god. It's
to
like,
make me feel better.
Yeah.
And it's not going to make me feel better because you kind of still took away Green Lantern from me.
Yeah.
But I like where Kyle is now in continuity.
Honestly, I don't even know.
Are you not reading the new Green Lantern stuff?
No.
Can I be real with you?
Yeah, sure.
I'm probably ditching them, going trade only soon.
Okay.
Probably. I kind of like the new Green Lanterns of Earth, Jessica and Simon. They're pretty good.
For me, like that was a big thing for me. Is like, oh, when I pop in and try to read Justice League, right? Because they've been doing the cool arc, right? Of like the nun got killed, and so it's like, oh well, this is actually interesting. Yeah. But when I pop in there and I see them, I'm like, you both look like fan art. You both look like what I used to doodle in my 7th. Like when I was a huge Green Lantern fan of like, what would my costume look like? I'd put on a wrestling lucha libre mask. I'm like, what the fuck?
The first time I remember where Kyle was like, oh yeah, I could just make a different costume every time. I was like, yeah. And then I started doing the same thing where I was like, and then he could look like this.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, their costumes are a little weird. Simon's costume in particular is a little strange to me because he's got like the cap sleeves and like the wrestling mask, and
hers is fine enough with the green eye or whatever. And
I'll tell you what, I'm loving him a lot more now, but like I don't know that I could wholeheartedly recommend somebody reads like 36 issues of Green Lanterns to get used to them.
And so where is Kyle in the core now? Because Hal Jordan in the Green Lantern
in the core now, and something happened with him. You remember he was in a thing with Sinestro's daughter. They were together for a while because she left to become a Green Lantern, and then she rejoined when the Sinestro Corps took over and kind of like began policing everything. And then they kind of got, but there's been like a war of green and yellow, and everybody integrated for a little while, and now they're not. But the personal story between Kyle and her, as she's sort of like
figuring it out,
ping-ponging back and forth between being good and evil, has been kind of interesting. But it's a subplot in the Green Lantern Corps right now.
Okay.
It's not the main plot, and I'm kind of...
right.
I want to be more into Green Lantern right now than I am.
Yeah.
This is a very good Green Lantern story.
Because it's simplified, right?
Yeah.
Here's what you need to know and care about. And not like, for me, it was like when they originally were like, they started not introducing, but really playing with, hey, here are all these different colors of rings and the ring war and all that jazz. It was for me like, not a chance in hell. I wish you well. If I would have been back in junior high when this happened, I would have been all fucking about it. But I'm like, I can't read. I don't know what's happening. I don't care, man.
Good day, sir.
I say good day, sir.
Good luck to you with all of your many colorful rings.
Exactly. And so like, I've just been so detached and so
I'm terrified
away from it.
I'm terrified they're going to do more and more with that stuff again.
Yeah.
Like they're still out there. The different colored rings are still out there.
Yeah.
And I'm just terrified that they're going to make us keep up with more of that stuff again.
Blackest Night. I love it.
So very good.
Because I was like, yes, perfect. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Stakes. People are dying.
And then they just keep going.
Yeah,
more colors, more rings.
Too much. What Emmanuel here? What Tim Drake Robin stories would you recommend? They just put out the Superboy collection, which to go back and start reading these giant collections of like the original Superboy, you're like, whoof, this was a '90s book. But for me, it would be like
you're
even just
Superboy fighting King Shark in Hawaii because he lived in Hawaii in like a cool Superboy bachelor pad. Knockout.
Hey, I'm a redhead who's super fucking hot, and I'm gonna constantly insinuate we can hook up Superboy, but we never will. I'm just going to use your powers and use you very quickly.
Because I'm like, she's also like 25 and he's like 15.
He's a fucking a year old even. Well, I mean, Death and Return of Superman stuff is where I fell in love with Superboy. I thought was great, and that was always fun stuff too.
Yeah. Gosh, Tim Drake stories. I mean, the original Chuck Dixon miniseries, the Robin 2, Robin 3, Joker's Wild, those are all very good because they sort of introduce you to Tim Drake's world, and they kind of introduce the spoiler. And
Spoiler was great.
Spoiler's great. When you first meet her. And then when
have you been reading this stuff with him coming back through Detective and all that jazz? That was awesome too. Like
Tim is still like, out of all of the Bat family, Tim is still kind of the one that I'm the most interested in.
I just wish they didn't call him Red Robin. I hate that.
Yeah.
He's like, just call him Robin. It's fine.
Because
Damien
does care. Because he's Robin, son of Batman. You can't be Robin.
It's just like we're saying, there's multiple Green Lanterns. It's going to be just multiple Robins.
It's going to be multiple. No.
Even though they had that whole book that was just the multiple.
They could have multiple Robins if Damien was cool with it.
Yeah.
If they thought a 13-year-old wouldn't slit their throat in their sleep.
That honestly, I love Damien as a character and all that stuff. I'd almost be more into him going rogue and becoming like the Red Hood to.
They sort of teased it with the Parent Trap recently in Super Sons, where Talia came, and they sort of like, they've been teasing this big end of the world. Something happens in the future between Tim and John.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Have they explicitly said that is connected to Nightwing New Order?
I do not think so.
Okay.
That has not been explained.
Because there was this whole like destruction of Metropolis.
Well, they keep
Nightwing stops it and depowers everybody.
Yeah. His book,
I was always like, well, is that the thing that they're talking about with John and
I don't
Damien?
think so, because they're just playing so fast and loose with time. Where Jeff Johns' New Titans, my Superboy, Con-El, is coming back.
1 week without time travel. 1 week without time travel.
Well, when they were like, Tim Drake from the future is back to stop, and I was like, oh, this is great. And like, oh, Con-El is somehow connected, giving me hope that my Superboy is to come back at some point.
Yeah.
Rad. I picked it up and started reading. I'm like, I don't understand what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
I start working backwards trying to find all the references.
Connor's there. He's Superman.
Yeah.
But like, when do we get him? Cassie's there.
I know.
When do we get him?
I don't know, man.
When's Young Justice coming back, baby? I'm ready.
I know, right? I know.
I'm ready
I can't
for it.
fucking wait. Luca gets a question in here and says, what comic characters or properties would you like to... Oh, no, that's not what I mean.
I would also say, real quick footnote to the Tim Drake stuff, any of the Chuck Dixon, Mike Wieringo stuff that's collected in a collected edition for Robin would be very good. Particularly the first appearance of the little general, Ulysses Hadrian Armstrong. Robin versus the General. The General was Robin's like arch nemesis for
so
a while.
cool.
Robin was so fucking cool, man.
Stop fucking it up. Just get it back.
15-year-old Tim Drake Robin, drawn by Mike Wieringo, up against the little General. He was called then. He wasn't called the General.
No.
Oh, so good.
Alex, I want to have the final question. Have you ever been put off a comic series because you don't like the way it's drawn, or a sudden change in the art direction, but try to stick with it because you like the story, but stopped reading eventually? I had this problem with the latest run of Old Man Logan, and again with Secret Empire. I had to just stop because how much I liked reading the comics, but I wasn't enjoying the art.
They've been playing fast and loose with Superman artists, and that's been kind of hard. For
me, it was always Walking Dead. When it went to Charlie Adler, right? Or am I doing no? Who's Cliff Ratsburn?
I am not
current
as,
Walking
I'm
Dead.
Not as Walking Dead as you are. I'm sorry.
The first volume of Walking Dead has a completely different art style that I was in love with. It was so detailed. It was so great.
It had that like almost graphic block printed, like it looked like graphic art. You know what I mean? It had like a poster like print look to it.
And it was so awesome that I was like, man, I love this. This is amazing. And I was buying trades at the time. And when I buy the first trade where it isn't that artist anymore, I was like, whoa, what the fuck is going on here?
It was very jarring for me when Aja left Hawkeye. Fraction was still writing, but David Aja left.
Charlie Adler is who is the comic artist right now. Thank you.
And then there was something that happened recently. Oh, but it was a total creative team change. There have been some total creative team changes, especially over at Marvel lately. Moon Knight flipped. Doctor Strange flipped. A lot of my favorite psychedelic Strange artists that have been putting in the work kind of disappeared to do other things. And when
Walking Dead jumped to Charlie Adler, who's great, and like his art style's fine, and I'm fine with it now, it was just, I felt it lost so much detail to where I knew what these characters looked like and I knew what they sounded like. And then when we went there, it was a long time of being like, and to my point from earlier in the show and what I've said before is I think it plays into, to this day, why I open an issue of Walking Dead and Maggie's making out with somebody. I'm like, who the fuck? I don't know your name anymore. I don't even, like, you just look like another white guy, but they might even be insinuating you're not white, which makes it hard because it's just, the art is so much more minimalist, which helps get the book out faster, which is one of the big problems about the original run of Walking Dead. But I've never fully gotten over it. I still look at those things so longingly of like, oh, this is so beautiful.
Yeah, it's tough for me. I understand why these creative teams change over together because it's not just a business thing, it's a creative thing. These people are creative partners for 100%. So long on these runs of these comics. So of course they leave together. I wish, and I'm sure publishers try this, I wish publishers would try to just like swap out one at a time. So even if my writer that I love left, it would still look familiar to me, so it wouldn't be as jarring.
Sure.
But I know that new creative teams come in and they want to make their mark on it, and I understand that too. But I get where you're coming from. Who asked that? I get where they're coming from. It's tough.
It was Alex. You get
it's
where
tough,
Alex is coming from.
I feel you, Alex.
Of course, every Greg's Comic Book Club, we ask you what we should be reading. Jumping in here, y'all gave a lot of great suggestions. Jericho pointing out Saga, Lock and Key, and then shouts out All New Wolverine, Volume 1 through 4. Motherfucker, Tom Taylor is a true hero. Laura Kinney as Wolverine might be my favorite Marvel character after reading this. She is calm and strategic before the action, yet wild as Logan in battle and knows how to deal with her opponents. 100%. Tom Taylor obviously won my heart with Injustice, and once I met the man and like once I read Injustice, I was like on board for everything. Then you meet him; he's an amazing dude too.
Because Injustice shouldn't have been as good as it was.
Had no business being as amazing as it was.
Had no business being a great comic.
And now it's still great.
Yeah.
But yeah, when he jumped on to All New Wolverine, all I knew was X-23, and she was a clone, and I jumped in and read that, and she's the only Marvel Funko I have on my desk because I am so all about her, and like to get an idea right of like. Where Tom Taylor thinks
the Soul Funko
of from Marvel,
the Soul Marvel Funko.
Can I show no higher honor than that? But there was a great quote that popped up on Twitter, I think, where somebody was talking to Tom Taylor and they were like, blah, 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 and X-23 does this and yada, yada, yada. And he responds back and he's like, her name's Laura. Like X-23 is not her. That was something they called her. That's not her name and she'll never go. And I was like, wow. And you read that and see the way she interacts with Gabby as the honey badger and all the stuff and the clones. And it's just like,
oh, the honey badger.
What a
that's
fucking
such a good
book.
moment.
And then her talking to Deadpool, like he's getting ready to leave that book. And that's one of the things where I'm like, I got to get it all. And I don't want to blow it. I probably want to read it stem to stern and go through it again.
Yeah.
Kala shouts out Gideon Falls #1. If you like mystery or supernatural, this book is definitely for you. I immediately got a Twin Peaks vibe to it, so that has me hooked. Jeff Lemire.
I like all the things you're saying.
He's the hardest working comic writer in the business. He's got his hands in everything, but the storytelling never falters. Something is not quite right with this little town, and I think I'll stick around to find out what it is. I like that. Jay has also been reading The Vision. Also Superboy Reborn. Puts Present from Girlfriend. Finally solves the mystery of doppelganger Clark Kent. Excited for Action Comics 1000. And then right here, Jay is the one who called out Supergirl 19, heartfelt issue about inclusion of LGBTQ and non-binary, which I read and did adore as well.
Yeah.
Anthony Carboni, that's the end of issue 3. But you need to tell us what is required reading.
Have you done Paper Girls yet?
No. We've read Paper. Oh wait, hold on. Kevin, did we do Paper Girls as required reading back in the day? We did do Paper Girls Volume 1.
It's been required reading. Okay.
Yeah.
I know you did Southern Bastards, so you're good there.
Yeah. I know this is a tough one.
It's
I apologize.
a tough one.
I should have warned you ahead of time.
I wish yeah.
How about this? Help me out here.
Vision is definitely good.
Yeah. What?
Squirrel Girl is good.
See, this is what you're getting into. What I'm about to ask you.
Squirrel Girl is
Give
very
me a good Marvel. I don't. We haven't done a Marvel required
That's
reading.
the thing is, I want to lean into Marvel or something in Image or Indie.
Okay.
Because I have a feeling, get you out of your comfort zone a little bit.
First off,
boy.
Image
get
is my.
You out of your,
Image. I probably read more than I do DC on a weekly basis, but okay.
Yeah. I am going to. I wonder how people will feel about it. I feel like people should read Vision more than they should read Squirrel Girl, even though I think Squirrel Girl is my favorite
Unbeatable
Marvel
Squirrel. What is it?
Unbeatable, yeah.
It is Unbeatable Squirrel.
The ongoing. If you read the first trade of that, it's just what I love about it is it takes the knowledge you already have of the Marvel universe and plays with it in such an enjoyable way.
Okay.
Like she fights Kraven the Hunter. She fights the Mole Men. She fights Galactus.
Yeah.
Like she's unbeatable and it's hilarious. And it's like it's just that sort of like fun, funny positivity, but also like really well written.
We doing that? We leaning that way?
I don't know, but Vision is also good. I could go either way, in all honesty. I think they're both required reading.
2 required readings. Because I'm already reading The Vision. It's happening no matter what.
No. I can't put double homework on people. I'm not gonna be the guy who comes in and does that.
They got a whole month. Yeah, they're both out.
Kevin, if you had to lean towards one or the other, if I'm going Vision,
are either of them on Marvel Unlimited right now? The singles would be,
for
right?
Sure.
So I mean, there you go. That's how we could save. I always want to save you the bucks, the buckaroos.
The whole first trade of Vision is definitely their whole series is
okay. It is real good. I'm enjoying it so far.
You haven't read it, Kevin? No. All right, then it's Vision.
Vision. Okay.
Then it's the Vision.
And you're not doing the other one.
But you should eventually read Squirrel Girl because it's very good.
Yeah, was Vision 12 issues?
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole thing is currently on Marvel Unlimited,
yeah,
so you can pick it up there.
Go read The Vision.
Okay, Vision by Tom King is required reading for next month.
Get yourself into that world of Tom King.
Thank you so much, Anthony Carboni.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Where do you want people to go find you and do things with you?
Oh, man.
What's your address?
The park. You know? Play some Ultimate.
Oh, some Ultimate. Throw the B?
Throw the B.
Yeah.
You can watch me every Wednesday on youtube.com/Star Wars on the Star Wars Show. I have a podcast called We Have Concerns, which is a science comedy podcast with Jeff Kanata.
He's cool.
It's 3 times a week. It's a 15-minute podcast. You're going to love it. It's wehaveconcerns.com. And I'm at A Carboni on all the things. So go follow me on all the things.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back with another episode of Greg's Comic Book Club, the first Wednesday of May. Of course, go to patreon.com/kindafunny. Probably like Thursday or Friday after this posts. So, not Wednesday, Thursday or Friday. And we'll have new pull lists up there and new question threads up there. Remember, the show is available for everybody at the dollar level if you want to be part of the show with questions and reviews. $15, which of course gets you a whole bunch of other exclusive content. But until then, no, it's been our pleasure to serve you.